Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're looking at the architecture of a modern global mission. Think about it. It's basically a blueprint for taking an idea and systematically designing it to go viral. And this is a really fascinating story about structure, strategy, and just massive global scale.
It's a huge question, right? Especially in our totally connected world. Well, some organizations think they've actually cracked the code. So let's dive into one of them, Gate Gospel Mission. We're going to unpack the blueprint they've laid out to take a message from a tiny community all the way to a global stage.
All right, so to really get their global ambition, we've got to understand their core philosophy first. And, the best place to start is their name, because it's not just a name, it's pretty much their entire mission statement.
So GATE is actually an acronym. It stands for Grace and Truth Experienced. And this isn't just a catchy label, it's their whole philosophy in 4 words. They take these 2 huge concepts, grace and truth, and then they add this really critical third piece, the idea that faith isn't just something you study, it's a reality that has to be experienced by you personally.
Okay, and this is where it gets even more interesting. You can see how they pack that entire philosophy into one single image. This emblem isn't just a logo, it's like a dense visual summary of everything they believe. Let's actually break it down.
What's really amazing here is the focus on balance. You've got the cross right in the center, that's gospel centrality. On either side, you have the Bible for the Word and the dove for the Spirit, showing this commitment to doctrinal balance. Then that flame underneath, that signifies the personal experiential encounter we were just talking about. And the wheat and grapes? Well, that's the result they're after, a productive, fruitful life. Even the letters themselves, the G's, are shaped like hearts to show that love is the engine driving the whole thing. It's really a masterclass in encoding a complex philosophy into one image.
So you might be asking, why create such an intricate system? What problem are they even trying to solve here? Well, like a lot of movements, Gate's mission really kicks off by identifying what they see as a major flaw in the way things are today.
They basically argue that modern Christianity is just filled with what they call unbiblical dichotomies. For example, they'll point to churches that focus only on the Word, deep theological study, and then others that focus only on the Spirit, that experiential, emotional side. Gate's whole thing is that this is a false choice. Their entire model's built to reject that either-or way of thinking and instead embrace a both-and approach.
And to solve that problem, they've got this super clear 3-step mission. First, clarify the message, strip it back to what they see as its original core definition. Second, simplify it, making that core message easy to get and relevant for the world we live in right now. And finally, amplify it, creating a system to apply it faithfully in every single believer's life.
And that brings us to the blueprint itself, how they've actually structured their organization to make all this happen and to scale it globally. They've built what they call a 4-level operating system, and it's a model designed specifically for exponential growth, right from the ground up.
It all starts at the micro level with what they call communities. You can think of these as the basic building blocks of the entire organization. These small local groups may be meeting in homes or online, and they're all about nurturing believers and building those really tight-knit relationships.
Okay, so from there, the whole structure scales up. A bunch of these communities can come together to form centers. Now these become the physical hubs, places like worship centers, training facilities, and mission outposts. This is the level where that internal community starts to really engage directly with the wider society through service and outreach.
The next level up is networks, and this is where things get really strategic. Different centers and communities link up to form these powerful alliances. This lets them pool their resources for way more ambitious projects. They'll even team up with organizations completely outside the Gate ecosystem to just massively expand their reach. And all of this, every single level, leads to the ultimate goal: sparking movements. We're talking large-scale, viral expansions of their message. I mean mass evangelism, rapid church planting, and what they call spiritual chain reactions that are designed to have a truly global impact. This right here is the endgame of their whole scalable structure.
This table just brilliantly lays out the entire scalable model in one shot. But check out that model column. It's not just a bunch of names. It's referencing a biblical pattern of expansion from the book of Acts, starting local in Jerusalem, then moving to the region of Judea, then to the neighboring Samaria, and finally to the ends of the earth. So you see, this isn't just some business plan. It's a theological mandate for growth that's baked right into their organizational DNA.
So we've got the blueprint, but how does that actually translate into a real-world plan for global expansion? How do they plan to make that huge leap from a local base to a worldwide presence in the 21st century?
Well, their strategy is twofold, and it is perfectly suited for our time. On one hand, you've got a strong physical anchor, their home base in Kenya. But on the other hand, they have a really savvy digital strategy, using platforms like YouTube to completely erase borders and reach a truly global audience. It's basically a clicks and mortar model, but applied to spreading a message of faith.
And remember that biblical expansion model we just saw? Well, it's not just theory. It translates into this very clear, step-by-step plan for global growth. The strategy is so methodical. First, you establish a strong base in Kenya. Then you expand in these concentric circles, first to East Africa, then across the whole continent, then to the global south, and of course, with the ultimate goal of a worldwide presence.
So, after looking at all of this, what's the big takeaway? I mean, beyond just this one organization, what does the GATE model tell us about how influential movements might be built in the future?
The real innovation here, I think, is an organizational structure that feels incredibly modern. It's decentralized, built on these small autonomous cells, it's inherently scalable with a crystal clear path from one small group to a global movement, and it's digitally native, totally built to leverage technology for growth. When you look at it that way, it operates less like a traditional religious institution and a whole lot more like a 21st century tech startup that's aiming for global market penetration.
And that leaves us with one last, kind of provocative question. When you look at this blueprint, this powerful mix of grassroots community, an infinitely scalable structure, and a global digital reach, you just have to wonder, in our hyper-connected world, could this be the new template for how any idea, belief, or movement achieves true global influence?